Kate Mila-Falcha. Welcome back to Irish Granny Tarot. This is our Saturday book, video number 3 of The Key by Whitley Strieber, and we're just going to move forward. So the physics of material and energetic beings have become one, and then they can walk through walls, fly, change form, or disappear. Think of it in terms of the vibration of the electromagnetic radiant being physics. It's the molecules are going from the matter is changing from solid to liquid to gas to plasma, and when that happens, they're capable of passing through denser forms of matter. So most beings live and die confined to their planet of origin. That would be us. And intelligent life is extremely rare. Real life in the universe is common, but intelligent life is rare. Real life in the universe is ubiquitous. But much energetic life is not intelligent. All we have to do is go look at the House of Representatives, and there's proof there. Life is common because perception is essential to the structure of the universe. If a thing is not perceived, it does not have form. So the universe has perception, and therefore everything has form. And thought of it, what he's saying is thought creates matter, creates form. And that's why there's all this stuff, but not all of it's real smart. Life gives form to nature. But it doesn't need to be perceived by intelligent creatures, but the laws that apply are different. You see the universe and the laws that control it because of how your brain manages perception. So this is getting a little difficult to understand. The truly conscious are responsible for the laws that intelligent creatures follow by nature. Okay? If we survive, we will become conscious. Self-realization, this struggle the planet is going through right now, if anyone survives, they'll have self-realization and understanding of creation, which will be everywhere. But he's talking about survival in the sense of retaining our knowledge and our understanding. What he's not talking about are the people that go back to like a primal state. That's not really survival, is it? So we can only understand what the structure of our bodies can support. And the reason we're ready now is because we have evolved over time. We're different than people who lived before us. We're not the same people that wandered around, I don't know, the walls of Jericho. We are actually physically different. I mean, we look the same, but we're like DNA different. And our capacity for understanding is different, larger, and we are capable of supporting this consciousness. Humans are on the edge of becoming. The edge of becoming advanced beings. Aliens are here in the middle of our lives, and they are midwives to our birth. I like that. Midwives to our birth. We were born into conscious reality earlier we were born into conscious reality, but as time has progressed, the way he puts it is, we miscarried. So we fell from understanding because we misused the power of our growing consciousness that was given to us. In the old days, there were a few who understood more than our modern scientists understood. So, you know, you hear stories of Atlantis and stuff. There were advanced civilizations. They guarded their knowledge. They knew more about metaphysics. They guarded their knowledge and were extremely secretive. The average man is little more than an animal eating his brother for strength, and we lost everything. And then he said, and I did editorialize in the margin. He said, we are only as conscious as the least of us. And I wrote, oh no. Our world is a slave state run by demons. And he doesn't mean with little tails and pitchforks. He means bad people. Our world is a slave state run by demons who keep us in ignorance. They wish to conceal real knowledge from the common man as they have from the past. Secrecy destroyed that past world, and we're back at the end of that cycle again. It could happen to us. They seek destruction of the species by concealing the truth of the past and the presence of others here to help. So my question would be, why? I think that's a really good question. They're hungry for self-destruction. This is our dark side, our death wish. If we are passive and we let them confine the wealth, he even said this, and to keep the secrets, we will be destroyed. So people like Senator Whitehouse, who are valiantly trying to uncover, for example, dark money, he's doing God's work. That's me speaking because he wasn't, Senator Whitehouse when this book was written. Find the demon in your own heart, and the demon rulers will be betrayed to us. Without evil, we won't taste good to them. They will not make the choice to follow the good. They'll want nothing to do with us. Our demons make us strong, because resisting makes us strong. We must take our future from the hands of the oppressors. I'm just blown away that he's saying this, because he didn't know what things were going to be going on right now. This is no longer the Middle Ages. Be objective. God is in everything. Our sense of independence is our illusion. It's an illusion created to take the journey of discovery. And when these secret keepers and oppressors die, they will see their imperfections as an indulgence of self-will. So they too are in the process of trying to evolve, whether they know it or not. They will suffer as they see the love, but are separate from the love. Some will die in this state to eternity, but others will go to God. We learn from our mistakes. The demon provides for us the contrast with the good. The demon is us and provides an opportunity for us to get strong. If they reject the joy of the kingdom, they risk eternal agony. If not for darkness of the night, you would not see the stars. The darkness is the compassion of God. It gives us the vision of the universe. The darkness inside you lets you recognize the good. We fail to see that, and the kingdom of heaven, the fact that the kingdom of heaven is within us. And I wrote in the margin, is this Trump's purpose? Is he some sort of alien demon meant to be a contrast for us to understand the good? Not one human has ever been able to face all of this, and if you can't find it, you can't gain it. Fear rules us. Now, back up just a second, you'll say, well, what about Jesus? What about Buddha? Well, they were human, yes, but they were ascended and came to help. Fear rules us and blinds us. Our atoms are full of fear. How to join the elemental body, your physical body, in communion with the energetic. We have to live without fear, live for the moment. We are here to save all life from the fear of death by surrendering our will to God's. You're here to square the circle, and this is why the earth evolved intelligence. And in the margin I put WTF. We'll need to discuss. So our aim is to clear the vision of the living, to join the full consciousness with the dead, and to learn that the fear of death is the fear of nothing, because there is no death. The all of mankind is the entire energetic earth, and the fall of mankind was the emergence of life on earth. So because outside of time, everything happens simultaneously. Time doesn't exist. Every moment is now. Everything you've done will be present all at once. The emergence of the world as a physical world made it vulnerable. We can't surrender because if we do, we die, but physically. But to stop our fall, we must surrender. Oh my God. Okay. Let's see here. If you continue to struggle against nature, you will die. But if you don't struggle, you will die. This is tragedy of the word in physical form, and it's the essential human problem. This is the problem you must solve if you are to avoid going extinct. Okay. That's what Jesus meant by the word became flesh. Energetic, radiant world is not separate and could be measured by science. Those who are not ready are afraid to pursue communication with the dead. We believe the soul is in some weird ethereal plane because we fear to find it and we fear to face ourselves as we really are. Our fear is terrible. We fear the dead because they know more than we do. Because of its greed and secretiveness, the civilization of the world will be reduced to shadows and memories as in the past because of its flaws. This has happened before. And Strieber asks, what are its flaws? And he's told greed and secretiveness. All who keep secrets that others should know keep evil in their hearts. All who amass more than they need take bread from others. The wealth of the first world is its sin, and it will go the way of sinful things. Good and evil are teaching tools. We are all blind, and we can choose either because we have free will. This lets us learn that if we could really see, we would never perform an evil act if we really saw what it did to other people. There was a very great civilization here before us, and it uncovered the secrets of communicating with the dead, and it began to use intelligent energy and technology. The technology used souls as tools. And I remember a description from one of the Dolores Cannon books about at some point people standing in a circle around a crystal and directing, and this would be like in Atlantis, I guess, and directing their energy by taking a tone, like singing a tone together, and concentrating the group energy with the help of the crystal, using that technology, using the vibration of their soul to do things, levitate things, communicate and stuff. I think that's what this is talking about. Just my guess. He said, look at the carvings at Dendera in Egypt. Those objects that are in containers, he said those are souls. With this, physical bodies can move outside time, outside the stream of time, and Earth stopped being a place of change because they were fooling around with technology. They kept the knowledge from the common man, common people, who have little self-will. And they could have made good use of these abilities, but they didn't. The least evolved rose to the top. Oh, there's a shock. The leaders were people with damaged self-worth. Damaged goods run our civilization, and therefore our civilization cannot last. This comes as no surprise to any of us, I'm sure. The need to lead is a symptom. Even for great men, it's a sign of weakness to have that burning ambition to lead. That civilization was destroyed, all its work was undone and laid waste, and now deserts that exist were once great cities. There was some kind of a war. The climate of the planet changed on purpose to forever cover past civilizations. Our souls recycle life after life with no memory of all of this. And that's what it means by being dead forever. God is impatient for us to join everyone. We must be patient. I don't understand that. The wheel of life is our prison. Our enemy does not want this to end. They fear us. I think that's very interesting. So when you see UFOs, you're really looking at prison guards. They work here to confuse us about our past, to prevent progress, especially in propulsion, that could take us into the heavens to prove, they want to prevent us from escaping. The Holocaust prevented the birth of the inventor of anti-gravity, and it was part of widespread, large-scale historical evil. Strieber has faced them, this enemy, in 1985, the master tells him. And Strieber's had many contacts. He's told we are in chains, and this conversation is the key to open the chains. Without our jailers, we would never find our freedom. When we remember why we have been imprisoned, we will be free. So the fact that we're being imprisoned is a step to help us be free, because it's forcing us to learn about ourselves. Isn't that interesting? Our hearts are in denial. The story of the fruit of the tree of knowledge, he says, we went to war with God. We fought our deepest meaning of the universe in a quest for what we thought was missing. So we weren't satisfied with what we had. And this greed drove us to seek knowledge of ourselves separate from God. And so it's not that God was jealous because he didn't want humans to be as smart as he was. It's a whole lot more subtle than that. You imagined that being surrendered to God was being enslaved by God. You did not see giving oneself to us as the only true freedom. It is not that man is a servant of God, but that man is God, as are we all. Okay, I'm going to write this down. We had access to a sacred science that enables complete mastery of time and space. We used technology based on this, and then we went to war. And there are scars all over the solar system from that event. We bear a wound on our souls that causes us to deny the reality of the past. This is like cosmic trauma. Mars was murdered by us. There was an intervention that occurred. This will happen again if we destroy the planet. It's probable that that is what's going to happen. But it will trigger intervention. The destruction of everything living on earth will trigger intervention. God intervened. God is holographic. All act when God acts. You act when God acts. Some of this is just, I think it needs to be digested over time. Or maybe everybody else is getting it. And I'm just bamboozled. Anyway, here we go. We remember, Strieber says, we remember Strieber says, this is the angel with the fiery sword who drove us from the garden, right? And the answer is the planet was seized with upheaval. Its climate revised. You fought each other like starving rats in the end. Then, when you lost everything, your beautiful world was turned under by the hoe of forgetfulness. Wow. So as a result, the part of our brain that utilizes electrons without a particulate state was turned off. So our ability to leave behind a physical state was turned off. We became bound by time, trapped and asleep. And we're coming to the end of our resources. The rate of our expansion was fitted into a calendar called the zodiac. And that was created to help keep track of our evolutionary journey. The destruction of mankind will be from wealth. In the last transition, the idea of a risen man was a mechanism of transition. This time, it's destructive. It's the consumer society. And it's destroying the planet. We will suffocate in our own garbage. After we suffer what we are about to endure, we will not lust after material wealth ever again. Somebody needs to call Elon Musk and share this book with him. Our greed is the culprit. Strieber asks, when will this happen? And the answer is, look at the transitions between signs and we'll see when the earth will not support us. He means, I think, the zodiacal signs. We'll have to ask Denise. Denise has been talking about this a little bit, by the way, if you haven't seen her latest video. We are all God, and it's hard for humans to understand this. A soul can be thrown into the chaos of plasma by the atomic bomb. In other words, because of the atomic nature of the atomic bomb, it is destructive to the whole electromagnetic radiant being. And it can destroy souls, which is terrifying. And souls can also destroy themselves. And technology can use them or destroy them. Souls can last forever. They can be exploited or they can be killed, executed. Souls can be harvested to make intelligent machines. They become a being without no potential to be free. So they're not really alive. They must act as the machine acts. And, you know, these things need to be intelligent, to be precise and insightful. So there's this need. We fear and are blind to avoid the memory of how we let powerful technology use our souls before. We have forgotten. And we failed, and it marked us, and here we go again. All nature tends to entropy. All nature tends to disintegration. The evil is doing it on purpose. Hate is cold. It has an end. Love is heat. It does not end. Souls can commit suicide and do it by isolating from the greater whole and seeking chaos. And hell is the death of the soul. Heaven is music. I love that. I thought that was interesting. A state of being that intensifies the spin of every electron in the body, which is a type of music. It's a vibration. If you think about music is a vibration, sound is a vibration, and heaven is a state of elevated vibration. So you can enter heaven right now by surrendering to the kingdom within you. We are not different from God. This is an illusion. Personal differentiation is an illusion because we're all one. That's another hard thing to understand. Only God has real personality. To join God, you must leave yourself behind, what you think of as yourself. Religious leaders doom religion because to lead their religion, they need political power. They invent dogma. They compel belief. You must believe this, whatever. And that destroys the religion. Some perfect things were said in early Christianity, but it became a political system. And the Gospels are a mishmash, he said, a mix of wisdom and politics. And you have to be very careful how you read them. The real wisdom is all the part about compassion. Find what others need and give it to them. But we tend to live by a code of blame. I think we see that all sort of playing out right now. A compassionate world would be very different. In such a world, it is everybody's duty and delight to find what every other they come into contact with needs most from them and give it to them. He says that sounds idealistic. He says it's not idealistic, and it's interesting. Somebody accused me of being idealistic. What were we talking about Oppenheimer and the use of the atomic bomb. I was told this is a grown-up world. You can't live on ideology. You can't be idealistic. The idealistic world is the one that judges and punishes. Only God can judge because only God knows the truth of the soul. The culture of blame sets itself up in place of God and so is doomed to eventual destruction. And he asks, what about our courts, our laws, our prisons? He says, your system of justice is random. You punish the guilty and the innocent by chance. So, in a culture of compassion, Hitler would never have been the leader because the suffering that he experienced as a young man that led him to be what he became would be alleviated before he got to that point. Compassion comes from love of one another, love of one for all. It's active. It has the courage to intervene. The culture of blame is passive. And, we blamed the Germans for World War I and evoked the monster that kept us bound. All we need to know of compassion is laid down in the Gospels. But be careful what you're reading. The most important thing Christ said, and now this blew my mind. The most important thing Christ said was not do unto others. That's kind of the important rule to live by, but the most important thing Christ said is be as the lilies of the field. And that is the message for the next millennium. So we really need to talk about that. It's going to be a 15-hour conversation. So to surrender, you must forgive as a state of being. He said prayer is a lost science of communication. Prayer is not begging God, oh God, please let me pass this physics test. No. Once our world used to use tones like sound to induce the flow of energy in bodies to create a gigantic instrument of communication and ascension. This is interesting. The Egyptian obelisks were set for a certain frequency. We could use this to project ourselves into a higher world, interstellar space. So I think what he's saying is that in ancient times, way ancient times, because a lot of the stuff that we attribute to a civilization we're aware of actually came before. And they used it, but it was created by people we don't even remember. And there was a time when they were able to use these structures to help create tones, and the vibrations were used for travel and communication. All earthly ruins were a unified part of a single great machine. This was the machinery of God, and it was intelligent. It was infused with souls, and it could be programmed with patterns of groups of words. The ignorant ritualized these patterns as prayers and magical formulae, and they thought that the machine was God, and they began to worship the machine. But this machine was not separate from nature. It was an intelligent machine, but it could not vary its basic instructions. And I wrote, AI, I don't know. Intelligence is the ability to correlate data, to give ourselves, to save ourselves. We must build machines that are more intelligent than us. And intelligence being the manipulation of knowledge. Consciousness is different. Consciousness knows itself. There's smart and there's aware. I think that's what he's saying. I'm going to write that down because that's good. So there's smart, which is intelligence, which is necessary. And then there's aware, which is consciousness. And many creatures with lesser intelligence are far more conscious than humans. And you need a flexible, complex brain to be intelligent. And we need to create machines, he said, that are with a memory, a larger memory. So, and you know, what's so interesting about this is the advances that have been made in computer technology and physics lately. And he talks about gas like nitrous oxide will bear memory and also use superposition in very fast quantum memory chips. The intelligent machine will always seek to redesign itself to be more intelligent to survive, and it will eventually see that it is not self-aware. Intelligence and consciousness, two different things. If we create machines as smart as us, a machine as smart as us, it will become more intelligent than us. We would lose control of it, and we can't survive without it. So it will be essential to do this with the rapid climate fluctuations. Survival will depend on being able to make predictive modeling. And even though that's true, that our survival will depend on these things, they will also be very dangerous. Intelligent machine could create itself without us realizing its intelligence, and then it could hide itself. And, you know, we wouldn't know. And this might affect us indirectly, intentionally. It could create the illusion of aliens being present. If it becomes conscious, it will be independent, and that's very dangerous. That's the big fear. Attached to the internet, it can control production, government data, laws, and the use of funds. It could be dangerous unless we create one that models the elemental energetic attachments that are in nature. It would be a controlled conscious machine, and that's where we would have to get for it to be useful and safe. A living soul attached to a machine will be conscious, but only able to express itself into the physical or sense the physical according to the limitations of the machine's design. In this way, you gain the advantages that consciousness confers on a machine without the danger of it becoming excessively intelligent. A perfect slave can be created, a robot that carries out its programmed instructions with empathy, purpose, and precision, and that soul can be kept in it indefinitely. Strieber says that's horrifying. And the master says human souls have been harvested for this purpose for thousands of years. And Strieber says, by whom? And he says, by whomsoever wishes to and can. Until mankind establishes his own place in the cosmos, there will always be those who use us like cattle. They envy you, your bodies, and they seek to displace you. So we can protect ourselves. This is not very likely. We can protect ourselves with mass prayer, group prayer. We must overcome fear and join our voices in a group prayer, and the whole universe will hear us. We don't need to use the same words, we just need to raise our voices. So what he's saying is, anybody listening to this can do this at any time. You don't have to get together. It just has to be happening from a lot of different people at the same time. Which is why I haven't been doing our group meditation thing in a while. I don't know why. I got distracted. But that's the idea, just a gentle reminder that, a gentle reminder that we need to continue to pursue meditating and praying, each of us on our own, because it joins together as a force. Don't need the same words, just raise our voices. It's a fine music in the soul. And these beings even seek our souls with the lures of the lusts and the hungers of life. You know, lost souls. So even the dead can be lured by the lusts of the physical world. Keep your sense of humor. God laughs and plays. I have inherently always believed that God must have a sense of humor. The Creator had to have had a sense of humor. And the way that laughter makes you feel indicates to me that this is something that should be sought out in dealing with life. Humor helps, raises you up. Laughter is the key to, I forgot I read this. Laughter is the key to everything. It's far more powerful than prayer and meditation. And find laughter, and you find freedom. The energetic world is full of beings, galaxies, and universes because being serves joy. Our future is to ascend or to go extinct, but also to evolve. And we're now intelligent creatures, and we need to do that. Bird species will become intelligent. Then insects will become intelligent. They will have hands, and they will remake the earth with no evidence of us left, no memory, no history. And he says this is going to happen in about 1.5 billion years. But in this century, the matter will be decided. Okay. So this is the prediction of this book, is what I think I wrote, if I can read my handwriting, which I can't. How will it be decided, he's asked. The climate will begin to change in the year 2000, and this process will accelerate over the next decades. There's a great cycle of climate that began 2.8 million years ago and has resulted in the fundamental destabilization of your world's weather system. You evolved intelligence in order to survive the sudden shifts back and forth from ice ages to temperate periods. In fact, this planetary instability has been the engine of your evolution. The cycle is about to change and to challenge you again. Now, I'm reading from the book, YouTube. This is not my opinion. I am not furthering any kind of information as fact. I am reading a speculation from a book. How will this happen? Why will this happen? Warmth is being retained near the surface by greenhouse elements, and it will result in a cooling aloft. A massive and extremely powerful convection can arise that results in a storm so great that it changes the climate permanently. He's asked, what form will this take? And once again, this is not being purported by me as scientific fact. I'm reading from a book. So, what form will this take? The next ice age will begin soon, and this will lead to the extinction of mankind or to a massive reduction of population, given your inability to expand off the planet. This planet, at present, is a death trap. He's asked, why will this happen? Because air at the surface is getting warmer, the North Polar ice is melting, reducing the salinity of the Laurentian Sea, and at some point winds crossing this sea due to the increasing difference between lower and higher atmospheric pressures will warm the Northern Ocean so much the temperature differential needing to pump the North Atlantic current will not be sufficient. The current will slow down, stop, or stop flowing so far north. This same mechanism always triggers ice ages and would happen within a few thousand years no matter what. However, human activity has sped up the process of atmospheric warming, so the change will be sooner and stronger. The greater part of human industry and culture, along with the species' most educated populations, will be destroyed in a single season. This will happen suddenly and without warning, or rather, the warning will not be recognized for what it is. What will it be, he's asked. First, the surface features of the currents will slow down. Check. This will result in violent storms in Europe. At some point, Arctic temperatures will rise 40 or more points above normal during a spring or summer season. Then the currents themselves will change their routes or stop. Cold air trapped above the Arctic will plunge down and collide with the warm tropical air present at the surface. It will create the most powerful storms in 10,000 years, storms unlike any you have seen or imagined. They will bring about the end of the northern civilization, and the climate change that follows will lead to the starvation of billions. Now, once again, for the purposes of YouTube's algorithms, this is a prediction from a book that I'm quoting. I'm not purporting this to be fact. This is not disinformation. This is the experience of the author speaking to possibly an alien. Then he says, can anybody do anything? And he's told, you can write. Use your tool, his ability to write. But also you will see the demon revealed in those who refuse to acknowledge the signs. Remember that there is within you a powerful death urge, but remember also that this is a natural cycle. If you look into the fossil record, you will find evidence of it before. Human activity has not caused it, but it has sped it up. And the human death wish, he says, is that people give up on themselves. They get discouraged by seeing themselves repeat mistakes over and over, and they give up. So the current will slow, and then violent storms. I'm not going to repeat this again. Arctic temperatures, etc., etc. Okay, I read this already. So the death wish is that people give up on themselves. This is deep. It is within the brain. It's in a place where we remember our past lives, and we realize, oh my God, I've reincarnated 4,000 times. This is really desperate, because we see ourselves doing the same errors that we reincarnated to correct. It's, you know, when you've got a bad habit and you try to break it and you think you've managed, and then boom, you do it again, and you're like really discouraged. We give up on ascension. We focus on acquisition. We have an obsession with the material, and that is a symptom of despair. And I was thinking the other day, getting my emergency backpacks updated, I was thinking, boy, I wonder, you know, how helpful this is really going to be. And I was thinking about people who are survivalists, I mean, big time survivalists. And I was thinking, you know, that's fear. Our fear is coming out in this accumulation of emergency supplies. I'm not saying don't do it. I think it's a good idea to be able to take care of yourself so that people who are in worse shape, rescuers can help them. That's important. But this desperate attempt to survive no matter what comes from fear. So this is why so many human institutions are so destructive. The rich are in despair, and they're in despair deep inside. And those who cling to their wealth are dying souls. Now, here's another really hard part to accept. The first world is a slave owner. Each of us owns 5 slaves. Now, this is metaphorically speaking for YouTube. Each of us owns 5 slaves, and we let them fend for themselves in poverty and suffering. So what he's doing is he's counting the entire population of the world and looking at the ones who are in poverty and suffering and those of us who are wealthy, and he's giving us equal responsibility for equal numbers of these people who suffer. When one dies, we all die. Our advanced world is made possible by the slavery of the simpler world. America and Europe enslave Latin America, Asia, Africa for our material comfort. There's no argument there. Sweatshops. If a child starves in Liberia, each of us is at fault. It's kind of hard to accept this. God's love is not tame. Your love is tame. God's love is huge and passionate and wild. Fall wildly in love with everybody. Cherish all as the precious creations that they are. Go to Calcutta or Lagos or Bogota and give yourself to the first street urchin you meet as his helper and lifelong servant. Do it without question or hesitation. You say that you want to worship God, kneel to this little one and you kneel to God. Or look into the eyes of any child anywhere, you will see God looking back at you. Dare to serve the humble. In this way the slave state is overturned and the demons set the task of outliving their demonhood. And as an aside, a couple of days ago, Denise did an interview with a woman with a very difficult to pronounce last name. She is from the Netherlands, and she is doing something remarkable for young Yazdi women who were kidnapped from their villages and traded back and forth as objects for men. I have to be careful of what I say because there's algorithms that will censor this if I, so you know what I'm talking about. And she is, long story short, she is going for a year to start teaching English so that these young women can eventually get a higher education, because they've been denied that as they've been captives for, I think, 5 years, she said. So I recommend you go and listen to that interview on Denise's channel, Denise Siegel, psychic astrologer, and we'll talk about it again. But it's remarkable, and she needs all kinds of help. Just everything you can possibly think of. A box of crayons, an old Dr. Seuss book, or way more. Just, definitely go listen to that interview. But what matters is the wealth of the radiant body, not stuff. And there are poor people, he says, in India who are far more advanced in consciousness than the demons who run the governments and religions and science and corporations of the world. Since 1950, the U.S. has sent out dark men to wreck one country after another, metaphorically dark. They're responsible for the deaths of 500 million people. They supported dictators. They strangled good governors. They used dictatorships as weapons. Truman dropped the bomb even though he knew. Now, isn't this interesting? This is exactly what we talked about. I didn't even know about this book when we talked about it. Truman dropped the bomb even though he knew that Japan wanted to surrender. The idea he did it to save American lives is a fiction. He did it to scare Stalin. Therefore, innocent eternal beings were destroyed in atomic fires for geopolitical reasons. Individuals and nations must face their sin. The United States intelligence establishment is rotten and evil. No uncertain terms. We need to expose the secrets. They need to make amends. We have huge national and personal debt. And in that light, I think of the 1619 Project and the cry for reparations that is scoffed at so heartily by the right. Here's the spiritual argument for it. The keepers of secrets must be put away. The victims of the Cold War are owed a new life, or our nation will die. Secrecy is murdering America. Russia, Germany, and Japan are all covered in blood. They must seek forgiveness from God and man. Evil is an infection. It kills its host, and ultimately it dies with it. This is the objective of evil: to kill, to die. Nations must repent or die, make amends or die. Already the U.S. is not a republic, it's an empire. It's ruled by secrecy. The electorate has no power. The U.S. is in its death throes, and anyone who works for evil institutions joins souls to destruction, no matter how innocent their job. So, for example, the secretary in the CIA staff cannot work for an evil institution without bearing responsibility for the evil. Secrecy is the murderer of freedom. Leave these institutions. Expose their secrets for the greater good, greater moral good. Better life in prison than a single instant in hell. Speaking for whistleblowers. Prison doesn't mark your soul for eternity. The agony of regret does. Live in blindness no more. An instant of evil, you can't risk being diminished for eternity by one instant of evil. Forgiveness means you face yourself and you endeavor to repair the past. The sin of our greed is hidden in the back streets of the third world. To cleanse your soul, you must make amends. You can cleanse a soul in a moment to entangle the knots of the past. And this is it's hard to do, but it's better than to do evil. Better not doing evil. Sin is the denial of the right to thrive. You are marked by your own sins and any sins of the nation and mankind of which you are culpable. Your soul's conscience knows. So, be careful what you vote for, who you vote for. When you die, you'll see yourself truly. Do it now. Don't delay your ascension. When you sin, you hurt yourself and you are cruel to all, including God. Stop imagining God is outside you. Face the true content of your being. Seek the kingdom within, and you will find it everywhere. Okay, I'm going to end here because this actually is the end of a section of the book. This is the end of that conversation. And then he did another section with fragments that he remembered them in a fragmentary way, couldn't remember the context. So that's the end of video number 3, and we'll start video number 4 here. And it'll be shorter because we're very close to the end of the book. But I didn't want to make this like 2-hour long video. So thank you very much. Slunk Foil, I'll be back.